May I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Listener?
Here.
Trustee Miller? Trustee Mulvaney?
Here.
Trustee Thomas?
Here.
Trustee Vree?
Here.
All right. On the minutes of our last meeting, are there any comments? Thoughts? If not, may I have a motion to approve the minutes of the August 16, 2018 Village Board regular meeting?
I so move.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Listener?
Yes.
Trustee Mulvaney?
Yes.
Trustee Thomas?
Yes.
Trustee Vree?
Yes.
Our first order of business is consideration of the appointment of Greg Turner to fill the unexpired term of trustee for the Village of Glencoe, to fill Trent Cornell's position. Is there any discussion? If not, may I have a motion to approve the appointment of Greg Turner to fill the unexpired term of Trent Cornell?
I so move.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Miller? Oh, I'm sorry, Trustee Listener?
Yes.
Trustee Mulvaney? Trustee Thomas?
Yes.
Trustee Vree?
Yes.
All righty. It is my honor now to swear in our new trustee. Would you raise your right hand, please? And repeat after me. I, Greg Turner,
I, Greg Turner,
having been appointed village trustee
having been appointed village trustee
in the village of Glencoe,
in the village of Glencoe,
in the county of Cook,
in the county of Cook,
and in the state of Illinois,
and in the state of Illinois,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of village trustee to the best of my ability.
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of the village trustee to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Well, we almost blew it. Thank you, Greg. Welcome aboard. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the trustees on a subject not on the agenda tonight? Okay, if not, the next order of business is our committee reports. At the committee of the whole this evening, we considered and discussed two things. One was we talked about a question that has arisen about some properties that are divided between the village of Glencoe and Winnetka, and the prospect of extending our past understanding with Winnetka with respect to split lots. And the other was a discussion regarding our new employee handbook that's in the process of being completed. And those were the two subjects we discussed in the committee of the whole. We also had a finance committee meeting this evening, and would Trustee Bree tell us a little bit about what we did at the finance committee, please?
Yes. So we had a finance committee meeting tonight, or this afternoon. We're halfway through the fiscal year, and generally, the general fund is consistent with projections. Both revenue and expenses are coming in about what we estimated at the beginning of the year, with certain revenue sources coming in a little higher, certain coming in a little lower, and expenses basically trending online. The next thing we talked about was the monthly community improvement program that we talk about. Again, it was a lighter year in fiscal 2019. We're beginning the process of thinking about next year and what expenses will be associated with capital improvements next year. But everything is going on schedule there as well. And then we also covered the investment policy statement for the cash balance of the village, and just reviewed our investment policy statement and made sure it's still applicable to the funds that the village has currently. And then finally, which is one of the more important parts of, I think, the committee, we began our long-range forecast and the assumptions that we use for our long-range forecast. And I think this is where our committee spends a lot of time thinking about what can go well for the village, what could potentially go wrong for the village, how we can better understand what may happen and how do we react to those sorts of things. And this was just our first meeting discussing that piece of what we want to, or just that piece of how we want to think about things going forward. And so this is just the first meeting in that discussion.
Thank you. This is the time when I would normally ask Trustee Miller to report on any meetings with the Plan Commission, and she's the Vice Chair of the Plan Commission. However, Trustee Miller is not with us tonight, and the Plan Commission hasn't met since our last meeting, so there's no need to report anything on it. Trustee Thomas, could I have the report on the Golf Advisory Committee?
You could indeed. First, I wish to put on the public record our thanks to Ron Schmidt, who was a member of the committee for 7 years. We gave him a send-off at the committee meeting, but he offered a lot of insight and support for what we do, and so that was important. Sounding again like a broken record about the effects of weather on golf, we had as everybody knows, a fairly miserable weather record in the spring, but we had a great July, and a fair amount of August was great, and for the golf business, those are very good. But then the end of August turned out to be fairly miserable. So, in particular, it seemed to be raining every weekend, which is when you get a lot of your revenue. So that caused our greens fee revenues for August, for example, to be under the budget for August by more than $15,000. That said, on a yearly basis, we are still over budget on revenue and under budget on expenses, which is the way you want to be. 2 or 3 other things that occurred in the last month. The Illinois Junior Golf Association played on the course with 130 juniors between the ages of 14 and 18 participating. That went very well. And then we had a 2018 club champion events for seniors, ladies, and men through 3 separate events. And those, again, are very competitive and are very well received. And, again, a good introduction or reinforcement of the benefit of playing on this course. Finally, seniors seem to be particularly enamored of our course, which is always good. Our senior membership card sales have exceeded budgeted numbers by 232 cards, which is $5,800 over budget. And that's my report.
Thank you. Trustee Mulvaney, is there anything new with the Sustainability Task Force?
Yes. First off, I want to make sure people are clear that I don't mean to make light of the work of the Sustainability Task Force when I each month report that we're working tirelessly to make Glencoe the most sustainable and desirable community in the galaxy. That may sound light and fluffy, but it's actually something that we put a lot of effort into and is a sincere desire. This past month I was provided some notes to make sure that I cover some of the key points here. So this month the Active Transportation Plan Steering Committee met to complete the final draft of the Glencoe Active Transportation Plan. The final recommendations include a broad range of transportation options and alternatives ranging from infrastructure improvements to educational campaigns, things like closing some gaps in missing sidewalks, improving crossing safety and signalization, and a wide range of other ideas. The steering committee and the staff from Park District 35 and the village have reviewed the final recommendations and provided feedback to the consultant. On Wednesday, October 10th, representatives from the village, Park District, and District 35 will host the final community input meeting for residents from 7 to 8:30, so everybody's aware. There's been a long public engagement process here with ability to input online, come to meetings, and other means of getting resident input. but that's coming to a close soon. So let's see here. Sorry, I lost my space. Beginning in October, the consultant will present the final Glencoe active transportation plan to park districts. Okay, interested residents are encouraged to come. So sorry, the next point, so that's active transportation. As you know, each week I report on each of our initiatives. The active transportation plan is nearing a final draft. Everybody please get your input in if you haven't already. The next task force meeting will begin preliminary discussions on the development of a community-wide sustainability plan, which has been a strategic action item for us as a board. The purpose of the plan will be to identify specific recommendations that the village, organizations, residents, and businesses can use to advance environmental and financial sustainability community-wide. So a part of this is something I brought up a month or two ago about having adopting a formal rating system, and we've been reviewing those. We have an internal recommendation here as to which rating system we would like to recommend. The task force is continuing to encourage businesses to participate in the Sustainable Business Recognition Program. I wonder if anybody in the audience can raise their hand if they're aware of the business program that we have. We've got green stickers in our downtown area for green business. Anybody? So we have work to do. This tells me we have work to do if people aren't aware to make them recognize and you know, what's the word? Patronize the shops which are adopting our green initiatives. The program recognizes and promotes businesses that are participating in sustainable practices by giving them a recognition sticker to display in their store window. A brief application form is located on the village website. Please encourage your local businesses to engage. A few more points. Next month, the task force, working in conjunction with District 35, will bring to the village president student members for consideration to join the Sustainability Task Force. When we first started the notion of a Sustainability Task Force, we thought it would be terrific to engage students. We're just getting now, we're almost 2 years old here as a task force, and we're just finally getting to the point where we're going to invite students to participate, and there'll be a lot of good opportunities for them to engage, learn, and what we hope encourage more participation in the schools and with other students who will then inform their parents, and we will be further along the path to being the most desirable and sustainable community in the galaxy. Task force members are continuing to review the solar educational campaign that will focus on increasing solar installations in town and provide general assistance and resources to residents who may have an interest in installing solar panels on their homes. This project is going to continue to advance the focus on solar growth in Illinois, which, by the way, if you're not aware, has passed some regulation which is really promoting solar installations, and our own growth and advancement of solar installations within Glencoe. So that's the formal report. I'm happy to take any questions, and I hope to see you at our next sustainability meeting, I believe is the 25th, here in Village Hall.
Any questions for Peter? Trustee Listener, would you tell us about our Sesquicentennial Planning Committee and what's new there?
Yes, well, Glencoe is celebrating its 150th anniversary in 2019, and the celebration is going to be starting Thanksgiving weekend. We're in the process currently of confirming all of the dates for the various events that we're going to have in Glencoe over the course of the year. And a lot of these events are going to be sponsored by various organizations in Glencoe. So we've really kind of gotten a very deep involvement from so many different facets of the community. So it's going to be a very exciting year. So we are confirming the dates, and we're also at the point now where we're looking for sponsorships for some of the different activities, and we're currently in the process of talking to and meeting with potential sponsors who can work with us in financial capacity for these projects. So it's a very busy time, and this is a committee that is extremely active because now we're just a a couple of months away from the kickoff of all these activities.
Thank you. Time for the village manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have a few things on the formal agenda tonight, and I'm going to switch them, if that's okay, with Betsy Leibson, who was originally going to go first. We're going to get started with our swearing in of a new public safety officer, Ryan McCloskey. I'm pleased to ask Public Safety Director Carrie Lewandowski to come forward at this time to introduce the board and the community to the department's newest public safety officer.
Thank you, Mr. Crowley. Mr. President, members of the board, it's my pleasure to introduce and welcome our newest public safety officer, Ryan McCloskey. Ryan's joined tonight by his parents, Alana and Tim. His father, Tim, is a retired Morton Grove police commander. His brother, Tim, and his wife, Colleen, are here. Tim is a Winnetka firefighter, and Ryan's girlfriend, Alana, is also here tonight. So welcome and thank you for joining us tonight. In February 2017, Ryan participated in the Public Safety Commission's examination process for public safety officer. He was placed on the eligibility list and was hired in August of this year. Since being hired, Ryan has been attending the Cook County Sheriff's Police Training Academy, and he will graduate in December. After graduating high school, Ryan attended Oakton Community College and earned an associate's degree in fire science technology in 2015, and he also earned an EMDB certification in 2016. For the past 5 years, Ryan has worked for the Morton Grove Public Works Department, initially as a maintenance worker, until he was promoted to crew leader about 18 months ago. As a crew leader, Ryan has worked closely with residents and gained valuable leadership experience. During the pre-employment testing process, we were impressed by Ryan's genuine dedication to public service, which will serve him well as a public safety officer in Glencoe. We believe Ryan will be an excellent addition to the department, and we know he will diligently apply himself as he masters all the skills required to be a public safety officer. Ryan will be taking the public safety officer oath of office this evening to fill a vacancy to maintain our approved staffing level of 36 sworn officers. Ryan, congratulations and welcome to Glencoe. I appreciate your hard work and dedication thus far, and I wish you a long and rewarding career with the department. And I'll ask Mr. Crowley to administer the oath, and as promised, there's a script.
Ryan McCluskey,
Do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the ordinances of the Village of Glencoe,
and the ordinances of the Village of Glencoe,
and that I will faithfully discharge
the
duties of the position of Public Safety Officer
the duties of the position of Public Safety Officer
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Ryan, congratulations on joining the world's greatest public safety department.
In the galaxy.
They always leave. I don't know why.
We're going to be lonely.
While the room clears out, I know there's a presentation that we're going to be putting up because I'd like to invite Betsy Leibson, who is president of one of our great partners in the community, the Friends of the Green Bay Trail. She's going to provide the village board this evening with a brief presentation updating us on the progress being made on invasive removals and native plant restorations along the Green Bay Trail between South Avenue and the Glencoe Community Garden, also known as SOSA.
Thank you.
Betsy.
Thank you very much. It's good to see all of you. And, before I start, I just want to thank the trustees for their service. You're volunteers. You don't get paid. You put in a lot of hours, and I appreciate your service to make it a better community for all of us. So thank you. The trail update. I don't have a clicker, do I? Next. Okay, great. This is SOSA before we started. You can see there's a lot of buckthorn on the left and a whole lot of poison ivy. Lots of poison ivy, some of it like 4 inches thick. Those vines have been there for a long time. But we've got that pretty well under control right now. So if you look at what SOSA looks like today, I have to thank both the village and the park district and our many donors for all the fine work and the many hours that you have all put in towards prepping the ground for the upcoming planting at Sosa. And there's a little story I want to share with you, because I don't want this to be a secret, that Bob Kirshner, who is the head of restoration at the Chicago Botanic Garden, has been nothing short of awesome. This is going to be such a much better project because of the depth of detail that he has. It's just amazing. First, we said we had to put up fencing to protect the shrubs from deer browsing. And so as soon as we said that, he started sending me links. This is the kind of paint you have to use. This is the color of fence that will disappear the most. The posts only come in green, so this is the paint that you need to buy to paint the post. Then he met me at Lowe's, helped negotiate a better price on the products for us. Then he went on his own to Farm and Fleet just to check out those prices and make sure that we were really getting the best deal. Then he went to Menards, and before the price went up, bought the 400 posts, and all total saved us more than $700. And then just the other day, we have an Eagle Scout whose project is going to be to fence these shrubs. So he met with the Eagle Scout. It's really hard to explain to a high school kid that I want him to come to the Chicago Botanic Garden so he can learn how to use a spray can of paint. But you do it Bob's way, because that's the way it's going to look really good. And so we had about an hour painting lesson. And it's just a much different world. But they have, in our community, the most visited display garden in the country. So I am confident that all of his help and his perfectionism is going to really pay off big time. And the last thing I want to say about Bob Kirshner is that he has even canceled his vacation so he can be here for the installation. So he's just, if you see him, if you know him, please thank him, because he's been an amazing asset for our community, and he just volunteered to do this. So that's Sosa. Timeline?
Hang on, sorry to interrupt. Does it make sense that we would write him some kind of formal letter of thanks or appreciation? Is that something we could do on your behalf? Is that
Absolutely.
logical?
Great. He's going to be recognized at the barbecue as well. So our expense timeline. The final application of herbicide for Sosa was supposed to be today. We got a little rain, so it's going to be tomorrow. You can see we spent about $18,000 with that particular contractor. The next thing that's going to happen is the 15th of October is the date that we're supposed to start planting all the trees and the shrubs. There's about 64 trees and 146 shrubs. We're optimistic that we're going to get that in the ground. We're not planning, the contractor is, that week. Following that week, there'll be erosion blanket and wildflower seeds. But that's kind of it for the year. And then next year, as you all know, there's several areas over in Sosa where water has sat and collected. And we're not anticipating getting very good germination of seeds in those specific areas. So we're planning to go back in the spring and fill in plugs in those areas for plants that will thrive in that condition. And then there's a little money for supplemental seeding. So that's kind of how it's going. We have spent a part of our budget on upsizing a fair amount of the trees that we planned, and including a lot of evergreens that aren't native to satisfy some of the concerns of the local residents. And the point of this slide really at Harbor to Scott is that we're still working down there. It's not done. We anticipate spending about $50,000 between this year and next year. We have some issues that the house at Harbor Street was sold, and they had kind of used some of the village land for their own property for a number of years, so we have to talk about, so now what happens. We've had some part behind one of the homes in Wentworth where there was a tremendous amount of weeds that started growing because the sidewalk was removed. So we're redoing that small section of property. And then from Woodlawn to Scott, we have some issues because there were a lot of wood chips that were built up from all those ash trees that were cut down. All the wood chips ended up in the gully. And then there's wood chips that are like a foot thick. Seeds don't germinate. So we actually had a bunch of volunteers that raked the wood chips, and Dave's crew hauled away 2 tons of wood chips that we raked up. And now we still have a few Norway maples and trees in a certain spot on the slope that's causing so much shade that seeds aren't germinating well, so we're going to have to address that in the winter once the ground is frozen. So work continues is the point of this slide. Next. Summer on the trail. I just wanted to show you guys there's tons of people using the trail. It's really been just amazing this summer, the number of people that stopped at the butterfly hatchery. We have a couple more monarchs to release. The number of people that are just coming out, and it seems like more and more people are getting involved, and we just love that. And it's just such a wonderful community asset that it seems more and more people are using it all the time. Next. And finally, the Buckthorn Barbecue, October 17th, is going to be amazing. Bill Curtis is our keynote speaker, and he was out on the trail the day of our big Monarch event, and we got an email a few days ago, and he just, when he was being filmed for the cover of Chicago Magazine recently, he just had a little commercial clip made for us. So if you could play that.
Hello, I'm Bill Curtis, live from the Illinois tallgrass prairie. Can the prairie save us from climate change? These beautiful flowers, Liatris, blazing star, native plants, have roots that go deep into the soil, 10 feet, 15 feet. Around those roots is a subterranean world of microbes. They all eat carbon. Carbon that is taken from the atmosphere and stored into the second largest carbon sink in the world after the ocean. I'll tell you exactly how that mechanism works. Join us for the Buckthorn Barbecue. I'm Bill Curtis.
Isn't that great? I love that. Anyway, I hope to see all of you there. Thank you again. Thank you, guys. Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
In speaking of volunteerism, as I continue to try to tell Betsy when I see her, I don't always have the opportunity to remember to say thank you for the work that you've done and continue to do. The Friends is a group that I enjoy bragging about to colleagues in other communities who wish they had grassroots organizations that would take on these kinds of projects and really take it off of the village's to-do list. And while we do provide you some services and some support, so much of the work and effort that goes into it is the volunteers that are spending Saturdays and Mondays and every other day traipsing around on the trail, not enjoying it as a passerby, but engaging with it. So thank you to all of you and to your team.
Thank you, Betsy.
Betsy, I have a quick question. A few months ago, we had a pretty good discussion here with residents about the value of this project. I'm curious if you've heard any feedback from them, any converts or otherwise.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, in fact, I have some, I think, pretty exciting news to share about that. It's three parts. One of the gentlemen that had signed the petition saw us working that day where were so many people out on the trail, and he goes, he said, you guys are working pretty hard. And I said, yeah, it's kind of what we do. And he goes, wow. He goes, somehow he said, I think I've got some poison ivy in my yard. And I said, well, I could probably help you with that. And so we made an appointment, and I went over, saw his poison ivy, and he goes, he thinks I made it go away, and I didn't, but I gave him some advice, and he said, I think I want to make a donation. I'm still waiting for the money, but, that's a convert in that's a huge win. And then another person has said, I can't make a donation right now, but please do ask me at the end of the year, because I want to make a donation. And then another person is going to be invited. I don't know if they're going to accept or not, but we've invited them to be our guests at the barbecue. And also, Chris and maybe Dave and I are going to be meeting with Carl and with Tom to talk about what sight lines that they are most concerned about from their house, so that we can have a better understanding of their biggest concern and hopefully be able to, based on what the plant likes, place some things in an area that will make them happy. So, you're welcome. Thank you.
Just to underscore that, there have been a number of those meetings, I think, between village staff and Park District staff and the Friends with the neighbors, keeping them engaged through the last 5 or 6 months since we last talked about this at the board level. But those meetings, I think, have gone a long way in terms of helping everyone to understand what everyone's concerns are. So good ongoing communication. And now you're leaving too? Man. I'm gonna have a complex.
In orange, I hope.
I just have a few other points I wanted to touch on in my report this evening. As the village board proclaimed last month, September is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month here in Glencoe. We continue to partner with Family Service to encourage residents to learn the warning signs of depression and suicide and to help connect those in need with the appropriate resources that do exist here in the community and elsewhere. There's a great deal of information on both the Villages and Family Services websites, as well as our social media pages. We are both taking extra steps this year to encourage everyone to find those resources if they find that they need them. Coming up on Saturday, October 6th, is the Village's second cleanup day of the year. If you recall, with our new contract with LRS for waste collection, we actually included a second cleanup day. We have one in the spring and now one in the fall. This is going to be on Saturday, October 6th. And as we talk about this, we are actually entering into almost our 1 year anniversary with LRS, having taken over garbage collection services for the village, which is kind of amazing to me. I can't believe it's been that long. There is a list of acceptable items and as well as a list of charitable organizations that will take items that people may otherwise want to throw away. Both of those are on our website and encourage people to take advantage of those reuse options rather than landfilling those things that they're cleaning out of their garage. One other point, LRS is preparing to commence our fall leaf collection program. As you'll recall, they are actually taking that program over from the village this year. We expect it's going to kick off sometime later in October. Whenever I ask Dave Mao when it starts, he tells me when the leaves start falling. So I'll say when the leaves start falling is about the time that program will begin. The next Coffee with the Boards event will again be hosted at the Glencoe French Market Saturday, October 6th. That's coming up in just a few weeks from 10 a.m. to noon. That's going to be at Wyman Green as usual, and we encourage the public to stop by to talk to elected officials from the Village, Park District, District 35, and the library. The last French Market of the year will be the following Saturday, October 13th. Thanks in large part to the efforts of our Public Works Director, we were able to convince the Union Pacific Railroad to change dates of its planned track repair of the railroad crossing on Lake Cook Road. Originally, construction schedules would have conflicted with Rosh Hashanah, which would have been quite a traffic headache in that location particularly. The railroad crossing closure is now scheduled to take place from Wednesday, October 10th through Friday, October 19th. There is going to be a signage that goes up a few weeks in advance of that. We're going to continue to post information on our website and social media, but get those dates in your calendars if you use Lake Cook Road near the village's northern border. And finally, the fall issue of Inside Glencoe hits mailboxes next week. That is our community newsletter. The cover image this time highlights a community-wide effort of which I'm personally very proud, and I know our community is too. It's the new See Something, Say Something campaign, which is being championed jointly by the Village, District 35, the Park District, the Public Library, and Family Service. The concept we're spreading is actually quite simple. If you see something a suspicious person or activity, a student who may be struggling, a family going through tough times alone, a person showing signs of depression or confusion, we encourage people to say something. We have a great deal of information that's up on our website about the campaign. This was the subject of my last Village Manager's blog last week. And so I encourage the community to take a look at that, and we're going to be doing quite a bit of public information on it. There's going to be, as I mentioned, a really great picture on the cover of the next newsletter that encompasses staff from all of those organizations standing in a heart shape. This was the brainchild of Megan over there, and it turned out really nicely. It's something that I think underscores the community-wide nature of the initiative. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Okay. I only have one item, which is that our next board meeting is October 18th, and that we are, as we say, back in winter dress.
It's getting cold.
Is there anybody that has any questions on the consent agenda or wishes to take anything up? If not, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, please?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Listner.
Yes.
Trustee Mulvaney.
Yes.
Trustee Thomas.
Yes.
Trustee Turner.
Yes.
Trustee Vree.
Yes.
Okay. Our next order of business is consideration of a resolution authorizing the village manager to execute a contract with Allen Integrated Control Systems, Inc. for the design and implementation of the upgrades to the Glencoe water treatment plant, the SCADA system, for a total cost not to exceed $300,943. And Dave and Alex are going to give us the background on that.
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. President. Just by way of background, the fiscal 2019 budget includes $350,000 in the water fund for the design and implementation of upgrades to the village's water treatment plant supervisory control and data acquisition system, or SCADA. The SCADA system allows staff to manage all operations at the plant and maintain compliance with state and federal regulations through the collection of real-time data on a variety of water quality parameters. The existing SCADA system at the plant is over 20 years old, is operating on an outdated and unsupported software platform, and has no more potential for expansion. Should the system fail, plant operations would revert back to an all-manual process that would require doubling the staff to maintain all required regulatory testing and reporting requirements. While the village continues to study alternatives for long-term plans for investment in the existing water plant infrastructure as part of our strategic plan initiatives, there continues to be the need to manage and maintain critical components of the water plant. The SCADA system is a critical component. Following a detailed evaluation of current and future water plant SCADA needs last year, staff worked closely with the village attorney's office to develop a comprehensive request for proposals document for the SCADA system upgrade project. RFP submittals from 4 qualified design-build teams were reviewed and ranked based on qualifications, experience, and project approach, and then cost proposals were reviewed. It was determined that Allen Integrated Control Systems of Chicago provided the most cost-effective proposal for a SCADA system upgrade that is appropriately scaled for the village's present and future water operations, meets the village's specifications, and improves the capability and capacity of reporting. Water Plant Superintendent Alex Urbanzik will provide more detail on the Allen ICS and their proposal.
Thank you, Dave. The project team consists of Allen Integrated Control Systems, Stanley Consultants, and OK Electric Company. This team of experts has worked together previously and successfully completed several projects with a similar scope. Those projects were completed at the City of Highland Park, the Village of Kenilworth, the Village of Wilmette, and the City of Evanston. Because of the complexities associated with the SCADA system, this will be a design-build project. Village staff will work closely with the project team to identify the strengths and weaknesses of the current SCADA system and identify ways it can be improved. Once the final design has been created and approved, construction and integration phases will begin. One of the biggest challenges to this project will be the integration phase. We do not have the luxury of shutting down the water plant to make changes. Water production operations must continue uninterrupted. I'm confident working together with Allen Integrated Control Systems, the integration will go well and the village will receive an exceptional SCADA system that will improve water plant operations. The cost of the proposal submitted by Allen ICS was $261,682, and staff is requesting approval of $300,934, which includes 15% for contingency. Aside from cleaning intakes, this is one of the largest and most important projects we have undertaken at the water plant in quite some time. I'm very excited to be a part of this and look forward to seeing the final product. Turn things back over to Dave.
So with that, staff would recommend that the village board authorizes the manager to execute a contract with Allen Integrated Control Systems of Chicago for the design and implementation of upgrades to the Glencoe Water Treatment Plant SCADA system for a total cost not to exceed, we got a little typo on the screen there, $300,934. So with that, we would entertain any questions the board might have.
If not, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Listner.
Yes.
Trustee Mulvaney. Trustee Thomas.
Yes.
Trustee Turner.
Yes.
Trustee Vree.
Yes.
Thank you.
May I have a motion to move into closed section for the purpose of discussing pursuant to section 2C5, purchase or lease of property, and pursuant to section 2C11, pending litigation and probable or imminent litigation.
I so moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Listner.
Yes.
Trustee Mulvaney. Trustee Thomas.
Yes.
Trustee Turner.
Yes.
Trustee Vree.
Yes.